The movie opens with the picturesque Oregon vineyard, as Isabella eagerly shares a wine she's proud of with her uncle Travis. In the cellar, she pours a taste for him using a wine thief, and Travis praises her wine. She believes production should increase, but Travis doubts they sell enough to justify it. Isabella, however, has a plan to change that. Isabella meets with Anton, who is a distributor, bringing samples of her wine and asking him to work with her. She's thrilled to learn he distributes for Chateau Saint-Fournier. After tasting the wine, Anton praises it, but upon hearing they've only produced 1,000 bottles, he doubts he can take her on as a client. Isabella insists that with Anton's help, they could double production. Anton notes her vision differs from her father's. Well, the winery has grown and modernized, so change is natural. While he appreciates Oregon wines, he argues they're a tough sell. Isabella counters by pointing out other Oregon wines he distributes, though he reminds her those have proven successful in wine competitions. Anton advises Isabella to be more aggressive with marketing and enter local wine competitions to boost sales. While she agrees, her enthusiasm fades when she learns the process could take years. Confident in the potential of Ricci Heritage Reserve, she suggests entering the prestigious Le Grand Prix des Vins du Monde wine competition in Paris, which Chateau Saint-Fournier won. Anton cautions against jumping in too soon, explaining that the Grand Prix is the Olympics of wine competitions, something to work up to, not start with. He advises Isabella to start with local Oregon competitions and call him once she's won a few. Grateful, she leaves. Back at the winery, Isabella shares the conversation with Travis, who suggests entering both the local and the Grand Prix competitions. While the odds of winning seem slim, given Chateau Saint-Fournier's 5-year streak, Travis believes it would still be a great opportunity to network. Isabella is hesitant to get ahead of herself, thinking it's just her first wine, but Travis encourages her to stay motivated. Still, Isabella decides to follow Anton's advice and start local. However, Travis takes matters into his own hands and enters her Pinot Noir into a competition, sending over a case. 6 weeks later, Isabella is surprised to learn she's been accepted. Although she's unsure about going to Paris, Travis urges her to seize the opportunity and give it a try. Arriving in Paris, Isabella is in awe of the Eiffel Tower and the city's iconic landmarks. After checking in with Henri at the hotel, she heads to her room, only to discover her luggage is missing. She calls the reception, and Henri apologizes, explaining the hotel is full, but they'll resolve the issue soon. A knock at the door interrupts Isabella, and she opens it to find Jacques, the rightful owner of the luggage, who also happens to be a guest at the hotel. He hands over her bag, and Isabella, mistaking him for the bellman, offers a tip. He declines, but she insists and quickly gives him a bottle of her wine. Hesitant at first, Jacques accepts, and before he can explain himself, she hands over the misplaced bag and sends him on his way. Lacey, a friend of Isabella's, visits, and they take a walk. Eager to catch up on Isabella's love life, Lacey fires off questions, but Isabella's only focus is the winery. Lacey insists she should still put herself out there despite her tough breakup with Stuart, but Isabella brushes it off, saying she doesn't have time for men right now. Lacey then reveals she's dating a French man named Luc and invites Isabella to his new restaurant opening happening the next week. At the competition check-in, Isabella spots Jacques and is surprised to learn he's a guest. After exchanging cards, she asks for the invite given to Jacques for a winemaker's event, but is told those are only given to returning competitors. Jacques casually remarks that she's not missing much, as the events are boring, but Isabella disagrees, believing they could be worthwhile. Jacques encourages Isabella to enjoy Paris while she's in town, but she doesn't believe in enjoyment right now. Focused solely on work, she explains she needs to find a distributor for her winery and can't afford distractions. Jacques wishes her good luck and heads out. At the hotel restaurant, Jacques is with his brother, Maurice, when Isabella enters the restaurant, and Jacques introduces her to Maurice. When Maurice hears her wine is Pinot Noir, he mentions it's a tough category, especially since Chateau Saint-Fournier has won 5 years in a row. Isabella confidently acknowledges this, adding that while their Pinot is usually great, last year's wasn't up to par. Jacques is surprised by her bold statement, and Isabella goes on to say that, while Chateau Saint-Fournier is a great winery, she feels they've peaked and are stuck in the past. Jacques agrees with her and asks if Isabella thinks her wine is better. Though she's unsure, she believes she has a shot at winning the gold medal. To her shock, she realizes that Jacques and Maurice are the Fournier brothers. She quickly apologizes for her bluntness, but stands by her belief that she can beat them at the competition. Isabella tells them that she knows every grape and where they're from, so they agree to a blind taste test with 3 wines. If she correctly identifies them all, Jacques and Maurice will get her an invite to the returning winemaker's lunch the next day. However, if she fails, she'll publicly admit that Chateau Saint-Fournier is better than her Ricci Heritage Reserve. Isabella wins the blind taste test, impressing the brothers with her talent. The next day at the hotel, Philippe, the president of the Grand Prix, gives a speech about the competition. Isabella asks the brothers to introduce her to people, as she doesn't know anyone, and since they're in the same category, it could help. Just then, Christina, a wine sommelier and acquaintance of Jacques, joins them. Jacques introduces her to Isabella, who hands Christina a bottle of Ricci Heritage Reserve. When Christina asks for a bottle of Jacques' Pinot before leaving, Isabella's mood dampens a little. Jacques notices her change in demeanor and asks what's wrong. Isabella admits that she's unsure how to get her wine noticed as well. Jacques advises Isabella to relax, assuring her that being in the competition proves her wine is excellent. He suggests she let distributors and sommeliers come to her. However, Isabella, eager to find a distributor during her short stay in Paris, insists she doesn't have time to wait. Isabella asks how Jacques plans to get her into the winemaker's lunch, and he suggests she use his mother's name, Margot Fournier, since she won't be attending. Isabella is taken aback by the idea, wondering how anyone would believe she's his mother. At the venue, Isabella tells the planner she's Margot Fournier, but he replies that Margot has already checked in. Just then, Jacques arrives and tells the planner she's his +1. He apologizes to Isabella, explaining he didn't know his mother was arriving so soon. Margot spots them and Jacques introduces Isabella to her. Margot is genuinely thrilled that Isabella is in the competition. She then points out Jonathan Ronan, a top wine journalist known for his sharp, gossip-filled reviews. Jonathan joins their group and casually reveals insider information about the future of Chateau Saint-Fournier, proving he's a true gossip monger. Isabella attempts to introduce herself and her wine, but he dismissively tells her his readers only care about wineries with a real chance of winning, before heading off with Maurice and Margot for an interview. Feeling discouraged, Isabella expresses her frustration, wanting exposure for her winery. Jacques, wanting to help, introduces her to Mick Hamilton, a wine distributor, and they exchange contact cards. Isabella is excited and thanks Jacques before heading off to meet Lacey at Miltemi, her workplace. Isabella tells Lacey she wants a wardrobe change and shares that the competition feels out of her league. Lacey hopes she and Jacques will hit it off, but Isabella insists she's focused on work, not love. Meanwhile, Jacques tastes her wine and thinks it's perfect. As the wine judging begins, Isabella waits outside, anxiously fidgeting. Jacques finds her and convinces her to take a break, suggesting she'll go crazy waiting all day. Sitting near the Eiffel Tower, Isabella shares memories of her dad, explaining that the Ricci Heritage Reserve honors his legacy, and she just wants to make a wine everyone loves. Jacques reassures her that her wine is perfect and she should be proud. He opens up about his ex-wife, admitting they weren't compatible, and together they toast to leaving the past behind and embracing the future. Jacques takes Isabella sightseeing, revealing that he and Maurice entered separate wines from Chateau Saint-Fournier into the competition, and the winner will determine the company's future. They tour Paris, visit iconic buildings, and enjoy a fun, memorable time together. The next day, Jacques tells Margot and Maurice that Isabella's wine is good. Margot asks if he's concerned, but Jacques sees it as an opportunity to improve their wines. Maurice disagrees, arguing their wines have stayed the same for years. Jacques believes change is necessary. The finalists are announced, and Isabella, Jacques, and Maurice's wines are selected. Excited, Isabella hugs Jacques as they congratulate each other. Distributors and reporters quickly approach her, and Jacques selflessly praises her wine to a reporter, despite being in the competition himself. Isabella appreciates this thoughtful gesture. Christina arrives and congratulates Isabella while Jacques steps away. Isabella is surprised to learn from Christina that she and Jacques are just good friends, not in a relationship. Isabella laughs, realizing she's been making assumptions. Philippe personally invites Isabella to a reception for the finalists, and she's thrilled. Jacques then persuades her to join him for a visit to a perfumery. Jacques introduces Isabella to Claude, the owner of Chambleu Perfumery, who shows her his latest creation. He sprays it on her wrist, and Isabella compliments the scent. Jacques inhales it from her wrist, adding a touch of romance to the moment. Claude suggests naming the perfume, and Jacques proposes Femme Inoubliable, meaning unforgettable woman. It's clear Jacques is starting to fall for Isabella. On their way back, Isabella mentions returning to her winery in Oregon to try out new ideas. He feels a twinge of jealousy over her freedom, as his winery doesn't embrace change. Isabella invites him to the opening of Luke's new restaurant, and he agrees. Later, Isabella confides in Lacey about her fear of putting herself out there with Jacques, given their differences and her past relationship. Lacey encourages her to give love a chance. As Isabella prepares for dinner, Jacques knocks on her door and sadly informs her he won't be able to join her. His mother's retirement announcement has caused the marketers to request an interview, and he needs to be there. Though disappointed, Isabella understands. At the restaurant, Isabella tells Lacey about the change of plans with Jacques, thinking it's for the best to keep things professional. Lacey isn't convinced and introduces her to Luc. To Isabella's surprise, Jacques arrives just then, and introductions are made. During dinner, Jacques explains that he left his mother and Maurice after they disagreed with his suggestion to sell their wines in supermarkets. Just then, Isabella receives a call from Travis about the Crusher de Stemmer breaking down and needing replacement before harvest. Clearly upset, she tells Jacques about the issue and decides she has to leave to find a replacement. The next morning, Jacques meets Isabella in the hotel lobby and persuades her to spend the day with him. Initially hesitant, she eventually agrees, and they head out. They talk about the beauty of Paris and love, with Isabella sharing that her past relationship has made her wary of love. Jacques, however, believes that love is what makes life worth living. Just then, Jacques receives a call from Margot, informing him that a volunteer accidentally dropped the last case of his Pinot Noir, leaving the judges with nothing to taste for the competition. With only an hour before the judges need it and a 3-hour drive to his winery, it seems impossible. Isabella quickly comes up with an idea. They arrive at Luc's restaurant, and Isabella asks for a case of Jacques' wine, as he's reserved 2 cases for his best customers. Luc agrees to give them one, and they rush off to the hotel. Meanwhile, Philippe is about to close the competition as time runs out, but Margot and Maurice try to convince him to wait for Jacques. Philippe disagrees, and Maurice insists he'll drop out of the competition if Jacques is disqualified. Just in time, Isabella and Jacques arrive, and Philippe takes Jacques into the hall to prepare the wines. Margot and Maurice thank Isabella deeply for her quick thinking. Maurice is especially surprised, knowing she helped despite him and Jacques being her biggest competitors. On the final night of the competition, tensions rise as the final results are announced. Isabella wins second place, taking home the silver medal, and she's thrilled. Jacques wins the gold, and everyone celebrates. Jacques gives a heartfelt speech, thanking Maurice, Margot, and acknowledging Isabella for helping his wine make it to the competition. Later, Jacques leads Isabella to the balcony, where the breathtaking view captures her attention. He urges her to stay a few more days, but she declines, feeling she must return to her life and that they're too far apart to make it work. Jacques, however, believes they can make it work, and they share their first kiss under the bright Parisian night sky. Just then, Isabella receives a call from Travis, who congratulates her on winning the silver. She excitedly shares that Jacques won the gold, but Travis isn't pleased. He tells her Jacques bad-mouthed her wine in an interview he saw online. Isabella refuses to believe it, but Travis confirms it's Jacques' badge in the interview. She returns to Jacques, who tries to take her out, but she declines, saying she needs to get to her room. Jacques, confused by Isabella's sudden change, asks what's wrong. She congratulates him, but says she thought he was different, then leaves for her room, citing an early flight. Jacques is left bewildered. Later, Jacques learns Maurice badmouthed Isabella's wine in an interview, and the reporter mistakenly credited Jacques since Maurice wore his badge. Maurice apologizes, explaining the interview was before he got to know Isabella. Back in Oregon, Travis urges Isabella to let Jacques explain, but she feels it's too late. Jacques' calls go unanswered. Anton visits her office, congratulating her on the silver medal and sharing that Jonathan gave her wine an excellent review. Surprised, Isabella learns Jacques also called it the best wine he's tasted in 5 years, leading to a surge of interest from callers. Anton offers her a deal, officially becoming her distributor. Isabella is stunned to find Jacques in her cellar, with Travis's help. He explains he never badmouthed her wine, and while she already knows that, she didn't call back because of the distance between them. Jacques reveals he sold his share of the winery to Marcus and wants to start a new collaboration with her, the old meeting the new. Touched and amazed, Isabella joyfully accepts, and they seal their partnership in both wine and love with a deep kiss.